legislators are owned by the corporations. We want universal health care for all. We're working on single-payer health care in Oregon, but we need it all across the country. We're working against climate change. Oregon is being severely hurt by the lack of water from the rain instead of snow. And so the salmon are suffering, the farmers are suffering, the ranchers are suffering, all of us are.
And money is affecting those policies.
Money controls all of those things. And so we get people who are owned by the corporations who say there's no climate change. There's nothing that people are doing to affect this. Well, of course we are. Everyone is affected.
All right. Thank you so much for talking with us. All right. So let's continue and try to chat with some more folks here. Hi. Hey. Allie, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. So this is Allie McCracken with Code Pink. So Allie, why is Code Pink out here? You guys are usually anti, drones and foreign policy oriented, but why this issue?
Well, we're out here at Democracy Spring calling for money out of politics because we know that weapons manufacturers are some of the highest campaign contributors in the whole political arena. And these weapons manufacturers are keeping us in a state of endless war by bribing our politicians. We want elections, not auctions. We want an end to endless wars, and we want our democracy back. And so I'm here today as a 27-year-old on the Youth Day because I feel like this really impacts my future. It impacts everyone's future, but I want to see this country be a better place for my generation and generations to come.
Typically, people say young people are apathetic, they're not engaged. This election cycle, we certainly have seen more young people come out for Bernie Sanders and supporting Bernie Sanders' campaign. Do you feel like there is a turn, just in your conversations, in your everyday dealings with your peers, do you feel like the conversation is shifting? Are people wanting to get more engaged in politics?
Yeah, definitely. I think with the rise of Bernie Sanders, he's given young people an outlet to kind of come out politically. A lot of my apolitical friends are now outspoken supporters of Bernie Sanders. I think that young people are really fed up with the cost of high tuition rates, with our communities being defunded, but things like war continuing to be funded with trillions and trillions of dollars. And so I think definitely that the tides are turning. There is a movement on the left rising, and it is youth-driven in many ways. You just have to look at the demographic here at Democracy Spring to see that.
Okay, there's some folks who, because you know foreign policy, they say that there's not much room between Hillary and Bernie, specifically on Israel and other issues of that concern when it comes to America being sort of this dominant military force in the world. So do you share those same views, and where do you sort of evaluate Bernie Sanders' stances on those issues?
Well, in some ways I do share those values, but those beliefs. But over the last few months, we've seen Bernie move in many ways further to the left. Just last night, there was a Democratic debate between Hillary and Bernie Sanders, and when the issue of Israel-Palestine came up, Hillary was way more to the right of Bernie Sanders. He came out, he spoke about Gaza, he spoke about dignity and human rights for the Palestinians, and that's an extremely important issue to many people in my generation, including myself. Bernie still needs a lot of work on the issue of drones and cutting the military budget, but he does have a strong position about strength to diplomacy. And Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, is a war hawk. She's supported many militaristic foreign policies while she was Secretary of State and while she was a senator. And so at Code Pink, we don't endorse either candidate, but we are committed to pushing them both and holding them to a higher standard so we can start funding our communities and stop funding war.
Okay, Allie, thank you so much for joining us. All right, so we are being told that we have to go to the Grassy Knoll area because things are going to get more contentious. As you can see, the police officers here, they've sort of penned in all the protesters, those who are going to be part of the sit-in. So we are being told that we have to go to the Grassy area or else we risk arrest as well. So we are going to move here and to the side. So as we said before, this is Democracy Spring, Day 5 here on Capitol Hill. First day, there were about 400 people arrested here on the steps of the Capitol. It was historic. Capitol Police had never seen that many people get arrested and participating in a sit-in. Second day, there were about 50 or so people. That was Elders' Days. You had senior citizens coming out saying that they are here fighting for a better democracy for their grandchildren, their children. third day was Racial Justice Day. You had many members of the Black Lives Matter movement here saying that nothing in terms of reforming the criminal justice system can get passed unless you get money out of politics because of the for-profit prison industrial complex. And then yesterday we had Labor Day. It was essentially a day with many unions, Good Jobs Nation, a movement that really started here in Washington because you have federal employees, those who work in federal buildings, I should say, who are working for private contractors, food industry folks like McDonald's, Burger King, that have contracts with the federal government to operate in places like the Air and Space Museum, different Smithsonian museums all across the city. So they are saying that the president, who does have the authority to increase wages, because President Obama did actually do so with a 10-10 increase from the previous minimum wage, but they would like to see $15 an hour. So that was yesterday. And today's theme is all about youth, students protesting. I mean, there are many issues, especially college debt. We've heard from folks saying that they would like Congress to pass some sort of legislation that would forgive debt, because many students are saddled with many loans coming out of school, saying that they've done everything they were supposed to do, but now they are in debt, cannot find a job, and it's very hard for them, and they don't see a very bright future. So, as you can hear, police are saying if you don't want to be arrested, you have to move to the grass. There are folks here sitting down who, yes, as you see. So we are going to move to that grassy area. But we do have a media section that we're going to be moving to, and hopefully we will be okay. So we are being told that we are allowed to go to the press area now, and media is allowed to be closer because they're allowing us to see what is actually going on and how Capitol Police is handling the protesters right now. So we are moving. We are moving to the press area. I would say there are about 100 or so folks here who are risking arrest. They all have a band, this white band of solidarity that says Democracy Spring. There are some folks here that we've already interviewed. Chris Hedges, former New York Times bureau chief for the Middle East, as well as Harvard professor Lawrence Lessig here. We have some members of Code Pink. As you can see standing there, there's Medea Benjamin. She's holding a microphone. Here she's speaking right now. Let's listen in.
You can do a summer job, make a little bit of money, and pay for your entire year of college. It don't work like that anymore, does it? Raise your hand if you have any college debt. You know, it makes no sense because you were doing a service to this country by going to college. And you know what happens in other countries? Not only is the college free, you get a stipend for going to college, because in other countries they want you to go to college because they understand that they need an educated population to move their country forward. So as part of this teach-in, who knows what is represented by $1.2 trillion? Total student debt. Next to mortgage debt is the #1 debt in this country, is student debt. Shame! Shame! In 2015, what was the average debt per college student? $35,000. Shame! You have 70,000. How much debt do you have? 85,000. Can somebody write 35,000 up here for me? How much do you have? 15 grand. Boo! How much do you have? 70,000. Boo! 40,000. Boo! Boo! people in this country with student debt? How many is it? It is 40 million people. Write that down. 40 million people. Absolutely ridiculous. 40 million people. So we want to also let you know how many people are either defaulting or can't pay their student loans. Well, it's 1 out of 4, so that would be 10 million people in this country have defaulted. What? Should a disabled veteran have to pay student loans? Should any veteran have to pay student loans? Should anyone living in this country have to pay student loans? All right, so I also wanted to let you know that among those people who have the most student loans, it is women and people of color. Why do you think that is?
From our great-grandparents. Sexism, racism, state power, and corporate power are all inseparably intertwined. They serve each other.
Okay, this is a very smart student here. Let's give her a hand. Did you learn that in college or did you learn outside? All right, all right. So anybody else want to say why they think it is that women and people of color have the most debt? Yeah.
Get away with. We get subprime loans for their houses, and we get subprime loans for our school. That's what happens.
I think women and people of color are the most in debt with student loans because we don't have representation in this house.
Anybody else want to add to the reasons? Pay equity, because once you get out and you get a job, you get paid less than white men would get paid, and so it's easier for them to repay the student loan. And in terms of people of color, they come generally from households that have less income, so they have to take out more student loans, right? So I'm going to hand over this to Chris Hedges, but as the part of the teaching, what are we going to do about it? Sit in, sit in. Sit in, sit in. Sit in, sit in. All right, and I want to tell you one statistic that I heard that leaves me really, really hopeful. And I saw it in a paper that doesn't always tell the truth, and that's the Washington Post. And the Washington Post said there was a poll done that said the majority of young people under 30 have a more favorable view of socialism than of capitalism. Now that is totally extraordinary. That will change the face of this country for years to come if you don't lose that idealism. So hang on to it. No, the system is rotten. The system won't even give you an education for free. We got to transform this system into one that cares about students, that cares about the elderly, that cares about the inequalities that are systemic, and is going to change it. Thank you. Long live the students.
Thank you. Let's not forget that today is Emancipation Day. Hundreds of African Americans built that house and they were never paid for their labor, and their children were never paid for that labor, and their grandchildren were never paid for that labor, and they still, to this day, have never been compensated for their labor. The original sin of America is genocide and slavery. And that sin has crept into every pore of this country until we ourselves have become captive to the capitalist forces We did not do enough for fight for freedom for our brothers and sisters in indigenous communities and for African Americans, and we are not doing enough now. And the capitalist forces that exploited and destroyed their lives, rent their families, carried out a campaign of genocide, have now taken complete control of this country. There is no way to vote against the interests of Goldman Sachs or ExxonMobil or Citibank or any other corporation. And this house has become their brothel. They run. They roam these corridors when we are kept outside. They write the legislation that slowly disempowers, disenfranchises, and impoverishes us all. Have turned sacrifice zones, coast cities, coalfields of southern West Virginia, produce fields in Florida and California.
Mike.
Partisan power of the Democrats. The only way you will overthrow this. It is a battle for life, and not just our life, the life of all species, the life of this planet. It is a battle for the sacred, and any society that does not honor the sacred, any society that does not grasp that life has an intrinsic value beyond a monetary value, kills itself. And that is why what we are doing today is important and must be sustained. And I am proud to be here with you, and I will stand or sit with you until they come and take me away. Thank you.
So you're gonna have to, for your exam, you're gonna have to know what is a corporate coup d'etat, and who can tell me how you spell disobedience? Is it with an A or an E here? An E? Raise your hand if you think it's an E. Raise your hand if you think it's an A. All right, the E has it.
Great. So next up, we're going to have Alexandra Flores Quilty, the president of the United States Student Association. We heard from the vice president, Raymond, a little bit earlier. Tim Hughes is going to talk a little bit more about what education is like for students in the United States.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm excited to honor to be here with you all today.
Talking to it?
Hello? Okay, I'll talk louder. Okay, my name's Alexandra Flores Quilty. I am the president of the United States Student Association. We are a collective of 1.5 million college students across the country fighting for education justice. And as they start to handcuff us, take us away, by a vision for education justice. As we all know, the current education system we have now affects a lot of communities and makes it inaccessible, if not completely inaccessible for a lot of communities, right? Right? Okay. So for us, who are students across the country are organizing right now. The event is alive and well, right? Student movement is alive and well. That's right. And having actions and civil speeches across the country. People are organizing right now on a lot of different issues, but we have a unified vision of what the world we want to look like and how we're fighting for it. So how many people here have organized around fossil fuels or climate change? Raise your hand. Woo! How many people have organized with Black Lives Matter, Black Liberation? Raise your hand. That's right. How many people have organized for immigrant justice and undocumented student access? That's right. How many people organize for workers' rights and workers' justice? That's right. What other issues are you all organizing around right now? Money out of politics. That's right. What was it? Veterans' rights. That's right. Voting access. Right. Global justice. Publicly funded campaigns. Right. Safety access to bathrooms, transgender rights. Right. Okay, so for what we see on our campuses, right, as a microcosm represents the larger systemic oppression that we see in our communities and in our society, right? And so we recognize that we believe that education is a right that should be accessible to all people. Do you all agree with that? Education is a right. Education. Education. Education is a right. That's right. Okay, and so we recognize, though, that the current system has always and has continued to exploit certain communities and stop them from accessing the higher education system. And even when they do access it, are encountered with barrier after barrier. These are Black students, brown students, women, undocumented students, veterans, all sorts of communities. Poor students, that's right. And so one of the most overarching things that affects every single student today is the cost of education. We just talked about the total student debt. How much is the total student debt right now? $1.3 trillion. $1.3 trillion. That's right. Okay. It's right. It's increasing every single day. We are in an economic crisis, a bubble that's about to burst. And why is it? Why do we have a system in which we believe that students, young people who want to get an education, who have to sit there and be in a lifetime of debt? Greed. That's right. People are trying to make a profit off of our education, off the dreams of our families, the dreams of our community for us to get education and have a better life. That ain't right. That ain't right. Okay, so education justice is about removing every single systemic barrier in the higher education system that prevents communities from accessing it and also deters the quality of education for those communities. So our fight is not done until every single one of those barriers is removed. That's why we're fighting for free education, right? Free college. People agree with free college, yeah? That's right. That's why we're fighting for racial justice in our society and in our higher education systems, right? And that's why we're also fighting to make sure we're understanding our role in the larger world, that we're making sure that we're not having our universities endowment money in the fossil fuel industry. Is that right? Okay. So I'm going to invite up my friend Lydia up here to talk about the climate justice. Thank you.
contribution to congressmen allowed them to escape $500 million taxes that would have gone to the people of Pennsylvania. Isn't that nice? Travesty, exactly. So not only are they buying out our Congress, polluting our planet, but they're also right back in their pockets. Exactly. So we got to fight against it. That's why I'm here today. My name is Lydia. I'm the Executive Director of Energy Action Coalition. We work with young people on climate justice. Come talk to me.
All right, so what we want to do now is we want to extend an invitation to the group and see if there are folks that want to come up and teach us about something. I'm going to call on this young woman in the back. When you're introducing yourself, you can give your name, your gender pronouns, if you're going to school right now, what school you're at, and then teach us all of that. And why you're here today, and then teach us something, and let's continue this education of building our movement and building our community together.
All right, hey everyone, I'm Carol Lee Griffin, and I came up from Nashville. All right, and so I came up from Nashville, and my name is Sarah Lee, and okay, so I'm here today. I'm not a student currently. I used to be. I'm 25, so that time is past for me right now. I'm still a student of life, though. So that's why I'm here, because I think that we need to get money out of politics so that our generation has a voice. Anyway, so what I wanted to share today is I've written a version of Prince's beginning to Let's Go Crazy for Democracy Spring. So I'm going to perform that for you guys today, all right? All right, okay. I gotta go, okay. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Electric word life, it means forever, and that's a mighty long time. But I'm here to tell you, there's something else. Democracy. A world of never-ending equality. You can always have your voice heard, rich or poor. So when you vote for that person in Washington, D.C., you know the one. Doctor, I'm going to change the world for the better. Instead of asking how they're going to create change, ask who funds their campaign. Because in this country, things are much harder than in a democracy. In this country, we are the 99%. And if the oligarchy tries to bring you down, sit in. Make sure your voice is heard. Go crazy! I am a retired teacher from New York. I want you to know what the system is doing to our students, our inner city students. The Detroit teachers had to go out on strike because their schools are not being funded. Where is that money going? Not into the schools, not into the students. In South Carolina, they can't get teachers because they do not pay them, because they do not let them unionize. Schools that are not unionized have the lowest outcomes. In New York, we have been fighting these outrageous tests, originally produced by Pearson, a company from overseas who has destroyed our system. We have children sitting 3 days in a row, at least 2 hours a day, two weeks in a row, taking tests that mean nothing. They do not get evaluated by these tests. The teachers get evaluated by these tests. Students who take them could be new English learners, could be low-income children who have not had benefit of good education. They could be children who need additional critical updates to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. You want to vote? Give me some noise for voting. Come on. Thank you. The Voter Empowerment Act, legislation to modernize voter registration and prevent deceptive practices like, anybody else experience deceptive practice with voting? We've had students who were turned away because they had a passport. Somebody who was working the polls didn't know that. That was okay. Exactly. So, the Democracy for All Amendment, a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. Yes. Which was icing on a really nasty cake. All right? The Government by the People Act and the Fair Elections Now Act. A small donor empowerment measure that would encourage and amplify small contributions from everyday Americans. Do you know what that means? That's a public financing system. That means that we have the voice, not somebody else that looks like Exxon. We get to spend $5. If I want to run for office, I want to go up to you, and I want to go up to you and anybody in my neighborhood and say, hey man, I want to run for office. What do you care about? And actually get to represent you. That's what public financing does. Alright, wait for a little break. Are you ready for a song? Alright, students, you gotta sing along with me. I'll say it first and then you do it, okay? This is Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, okay? Do is what corporations make. Sing our democracy. Me, someone I'd like to save. Founding fathers, here are pleas. So, oligarchy must go. Law is what we have to break. TV news we seldom fake. But we haven't have the do. It's what corporations make. Erasing our democracy. Me, someone I'd like to save. Founding fathers, here are pleas. So, oligarchy must go. Law is what we have to break. TV news we seldom make. Cause we haven't had the dough. Very good, excellent. So raise your hand who wants to speak. Let's see how many people we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, I saw your hand up first. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hello everyone, I am PJ. I am a combat medical specialist veteran. I provided support to our soldiers from 1997 to 2000. From 1997 to 2000, I provided support to our soldiers serving overseas where I was. The problem I have with our government is I am a disabled veteran. I took an oath to fight all enemies, foreign and domestic, in this country. I come home. It took them a year to fix my knee. I lived on an ACL that was completely torn in half. I am also asthmatic. They like to cut costs on medications that work for us veterans. I now am being forced to take a medication that would cost me $400 a month with a black box label that specifically says, not for asthmatics, so I am taking a chance on my health. As a veteran, I have family members who came over here after the war with mental health issues, PTSD. They loaded them full of medications, got them hooked and addicted, and then they told them to fucking go away. They didn't want to help our veterans. I am done. I am fucking done. We have the rights. We have fought for this country. I took an oath to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will uphold that right as a veteran. Hi. I'm here today getting arrested for the first time in my life. Because I hope this sort of protest will make people turn and say something. If you've been watching the media, you've noticed there's been no coverage. And when there's a tiny little bit of
coverage. It's so condescending. They talk about us as if we don't know how government really works. They talk about us as if we don't know how the economy really works. And these are the same people who did such a good job of running our economy in 2008, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of them turning against each other. Here we mostly, I see, we're a lot of progressives, but I think that this Democrat and Republican issue is bullshit. Monsanto doesn't just pay the Democrat side, they pay the Republican side. Exxon isn't just on the Republican side, they're on the Democrat side. You think the coke cutters, you think they take sides? No, they're paying everybody. Our money is in all of their pockets because they take the taxes from us and they use the laws for them. So I want us to get, when you go out, wherever you're going, don't let them turn you against each other. Even if they're Trump people, whatever people they are, whatever they support, don't let them tricking you to think your brothers and sisters are your enemies. They're not the enemy. The moneyed interests are the enemy. The liars are the enemy. People who want to silence us are the enemy. Don't be confused. I am here representing Spelman College. Yeah, you can go. You can go. I'm here representing Spelman College, and I think that's important because HBCUs do not get the funding that majority institutions get. And I think that's a shame.
See, I'm being hauled away right now to be arrested, and I wanted to be able to speak first. Thank you for waiting. Everyone is getting hauled away today. Get the microphone before you go and speak your piece. I'm representing the West Coast. I live in California, but I've been working in Washington on the initiative 735 to get big money out of politics. It's made it on the ballot in November. Washington State is going to get to vote on it. It may become the 18th state to pass that resolution. And once we get more states on board, eventually it's going to tip the balance, and we're going to have to get big money out of politics. It's too bad it's up to the state to do this. There's a lot of freaking work for each state to do this. And it should have been done right here. These are our people we wouldn't need to be able to elect people who are going to speak for us and do our bidding, which is get big money out of politics. So everybody grab the microphone before they haul you away. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Nelson. I just want to say the first time that I got arrested was in 1968 at an induction center trying to keep people from being sent to Vietnam. And I've been an anti-nuclear person ever since. And this government and they're disobeying the international agreements on this, and I think it's a travesty, and you should know that, because that's going to affect our climate, the radiation is going to affect us all, and it's bad news. So I just wanted to say very briefly that part of what we were trying to do with this teach-in is make sure that we are putting voices front and center, not only of students and young people as even students in Student Youth Day, but also creating a space and a time that is lifting up the voices of those whose voices are not put front and center all the time. We do want to welcome all voices, but we want to make sure that we are creating a community where we are being able to take
face throughput some of those voices first, and then gain time be able to ensure that all voices are heard. So I just wanted to say that. So we're going to let the young woman speak here who's been waiting for a little bit, and then from there, let's just try and keep that in mind if there are women, if there are young people, if there are folks of color, queer and trans folks, and elderly folks as well. And we do, so we're going to go here, and then we'll go over here, absolutely. And then let's just make sure and keep an eye on that as we're moving forward. And also remembering that, like, let's take this time to learn and teach each other as well.
Thank you guys. I'm here representing Green Mountain College. We're an environmental liberal arts school located up in Vermont. But I have a non-environmental question to ask you guys. Who here has an idea of how much money the NRA donated to congressional campaigns in the 2014 election cycle? Let me say it again. $2.7 million. Yeah, that is a lot of money, and I welcome the opinions of people who support the Second Amendment. I support the Second Amendment too. If you want to go hunting, it's all good. But, well, I respect the opinions of everybody. But I think there's an undeniable correlation between the lack of sensible gun reform that we have not seen in the past years since we've had mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. Last year, guys, we had more mass shootings than there were days of the year. And that is not acceptable. You should not have to go into your school and think, I might get shot today. Whether you go to big school, little school, whether you're 5 or 15 or 25, that is unacceptable. And there's an undeniable correlation between the amount of money the NRA donates to congressional campaigns and the absolute lack of action that Congress has made on sensible gun reform. So that's why I'm here, in addition to climate change. Thank you, guys.
Another speaker, I want to say this. First off, thank the police officers for being so polite to us. There are good police officers, but there are a few bad ones that happen. Majority of police officers, they work hard, they don't get paid much, and they risk their lives every day for us American people. Along with Navy veterans, which I am, and veterans on the whole that risk their lives for the country. I'm here as a Navy veteran. I'm also here as a grandmother. I want my grandchildren to have one voice, one vote. Not democracy that is paid down but not paid, and only works for the 1%. I want our children in colleges, not in war. War is only about all power and money. It's not about the people on either side. They're trying to make the people get rich. And I just want to say I thank you all for being here. And it's a miracle I'm here. I am disabled and I will not have my pain, but I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm done. And if we lose our democracy, if we lose our freedom, we've lost everything. I'm 60 years old. I've never been arrested. I guess it's my first time.
I'm a 73-year-old, almost young on veteran, but many people like you, I didn't know I photographed before time. I come from Florida. We're not only known for stealing elections, we're also known for the sunshine. How's it going? We're out for tonight? Including a tax now. Sunshine State. Is that another solar panel on your house or your commercial property, your taxes go up. All right, so is he coming tonight?
Hello.
Okay,
my name is Jonathan Tong, and I'm a high school teacher from Washington State. We are in Washington, one about 3,000 miles that away. I came here this week to stand up for my students, for my two high school age daughters, I came here so that I could do my part and do whatever I could to help them get the democracy they deserve. Not the democracy, or get the democracy they deserve, the democracy that they think they have when they read their U.S. history books, when they pledge allegiance to the flag every morning. Most people don't really realize what Citizens United is, so I'm not really talking to you guys so much. That would be what we call preaching to the choir. But I'm talking to the folks who might be watching a video right now, or maybe our friends in the police department. And I gave what was said about giving thanks to those who put the lives on the line for us. Because we're doing this as much for you and your children as for us, for ours. But when you hear people chanting, corporations aren't people, money is speech, or overturning Citizens United, if you didn't know that, refers to Citizens United, which is a Supreme Court ruling that happened about 6 years ago in 2010, right in that building, right across the street, where by a 5-4 decision, 5 unelected justices outvoted 4 to say that corporations are entitled to the same constitutional free speech rights as individual people, as real people, that spending money, that spending millions of dollars to influence elections, to buy elections, is now considered a form of free speech protected by the First Amendment. So that is why we have to legalize bribery in this country. And that's why our elected representatives are no longer allowed to put any kind of reasonable limits on how much money corporations spend on elections. So students out there, I'm asking you to learn about it. Teachers, I'm asking you to teach about it as appropriate to your class curriculum. Students, ask your social studies teachers what Citizens United is. Social studies teachers teach it in a way that's nonpartisan, in a way that's connected, in a professional way. It's part of your job. Not teaching that as part of constitutional law or U.S. history. It's like me as a biology teacher, not teaching climate change. It's not right. So do that and ask questions of your elected representatives. Make sure that nobody gets to run for office in 2016 without telling us what specifically they're going to do to fix these problems, get big money out of elections, make sure voter rights.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm a UPC student. I'm the Direct Action Coordinator for People United, a anti-oppression organization at my school. But I speak to you not as a university student of a university where I was kicked out of my classes for arguing with a teacher who said that slavery wasn't that bad and who called a rape scene in a book a sex scene. I am speaking to you as a human being who has not been properly educated by that system. We did not get any education about countries and the political system other than our own in our high schools. In many places in the country, possibly graduate without hearing shit about the fact that this within a capitalist system. Economics, you can get economics degrees without hearing the word capitalism. Because it's like a fish in water syndrome. We don't acknowledge this is our economic, our political, or social structure because it's taken as a given, and it makes it so it's almost impossible to think outside of that framework for anybody who's been educated within that system. I've heard a lot of people who are talking about returning to a more pure form of democracy. We have never been a true democracy. This country was founded on genocide, and when this country was founded, only white landowning men could vote. The ideal was never to have a true democracy. And we need to change the conversation and talk about looking forward and what we're going to build, which never has existed yet, as opposed to idolizing a past which does not serve and which oppresses most of us by one dimension or another. Racism, sexism, the class war, homophobia, transphobia are all interconnected. Because as people vie for a slice of hegemonic power, as people vie for a slice of legitimacy and authority, they shit on other people who are oppressed by some dimension where they personally are privileged. It's all that shit which divides and spies us and makes it so that we are not unified and makes it so that we are not working together to overtake a group of people much, much smaller than us in numbers. They control the vast majority of the resources and the airspace, the fucking place on national TV. The reason they're not talking about this is they don't want more people to come out and join us.
Hi, I just want to thank the people here that
Talk into the microphone. Mic check. I want to thank. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. We the people. We the people of the United States. Of the United States. In order to form. In order to form.
So you're a recent graduate, yes, and one of the organizers of Democracy Spring. For folks who are watching at home, can you just talk about how this all came together?
Yes, my name is Brianna Ross. I'm the Vice President of the U.S. Student Association, and we are here to demand a democracy, a true democracy, in which, we have representatives that are actually representing us, where we have, voting, where the Voting Rights Act is passed and a reality, where the Voter Empowerment Act is a reality, and where fair elections are actually happening, and where we have a Supreme Court nominee that is going to make sure that a true democracy that is representing the people and not the 1%.
Okay, and you guys are not endorsing President Obama's nomination, Merrick Garland, but no. What would you like to see?
I would say that we believe in education justice, and education justice is the idea that we are going to dismantle different systems of oppression in higher education, whether it be, fighting for climate justice, fighting for economic justice, fighting for racial justice. All of the different systems that oppress our higher education system also happen with our government as well.
And one of those big issues at least of what I've heard today, because this is Youth Day, this is the theme of Democracy Spring today, is Student and Youth Day, is about student debt, and we have over $1 trillion
And I've seen students that have to choose between buying books and having to buy food. And that's like a reality that so many students have to face. Students that are student parents, students that have to leave for a semester and then come back. And then folks that have to get a job to pay for the education that was supposed to get them a job, which is a really contradictory idea.
All right. So you were also a part of the steering committee that put Democracy Spring together. Can you just talk about who else is behind that committee, and in what capacity did your association help with this protest?
Yes, there are all sorts of nonprofit organizations. I know specifically for Student and Youth Day, they wanted folks from the United Students Against Sweatshops, from DC Votes, from different. They wanted to have a coalition of different folks from different issue-based organizations to make sure that we are actually representing the people that are being impacted directly from these issues. And in regards to specifically what our role was to make sure that students are being represented. There's a lot of decision makers that are not students that are making student decisions on the behalf of students, and folks that have not been students in years, where education was a smidgen of the cost that it is now, to now where the average student graduates with over $30,000 in student debt. So we're in a different time and a different place, and we want to make sure that students are being heard, and folks from underrepresented groups and marginalized identities are being at the forefront of the movement.
Did you guys help with the funding at all?
No, we did not.
Okay. So for people who don't know what your association stands for, what exactly do you stand for?
We stand for education justice. So we've been around since 1947. We're the nation's oldest and largest student-led organization, representing over 1.5 million students. And we believe that we have to destroy racism, classism, xenophobia, and other systems of oppression in higher education in order to create a better society.
Okay. All right. Brianna, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. So this is Democracy Spring. As I said before, day 5. We've been covering this live since Monday. Monday was the first day of sit-ins that took place on the Capitol building. You had more than 400 people arrested. I believe the last number official number was 430 people. So that was unprecedented. Capitol Police said they have never arrested that many people here in the Capitol. So really making history here. I've spoken to many protesters. They say that they're not going to be giving up. Tomorrow is a day of climate justice, so they will be organizing around that issue. And then on Monday, there is a day where I still haven't gotten confirmation, but there are tentative plans to actually go into lawmakers' offices and demand actually to meet with lawmakers. And if they are not granted a meeting, then they will perform sit-ins and risk arrest in those offices. I actually spoke to a communications director for for Democracy Spring. They've told me that there were about 13 people arrested earlier this morning in the visitors' rotunda. They staged a sit-in there, so there are even more arrests. As you can see on our other camera, there are arrests still ongoing. We've spoken to Chris Hedges, we've spoken to Lawrence Lessig. You also heard from Medea Benjamin. All of these folks, they're risking arrest today, saying that they want to get the corrupting influence of money out of politics, as well as attack voter suppression laws. So we'll be continuing this coverage for the next half hour or so. We'll speak to more folks, take a look at the arrests that are still ongoing, and we'll soon be back talking with you.
Who are listening at home, you can join us. You can donate to help get people here, and you can start the conversation. Start breaking down the mental barriers and join your community. We're all in this together.
Real quick, I know it was already said once. I know we thank the officers here, but I want to thank them with a little more specificity. The officers here are doing their job regardless of whether or not they believe that they should arrest us. It is their job. They have to arrest us. Whether or not they want to join us, whether or not they believe as we do, they have a job to do. And they're going to do it, and their equal treatment of us should be respected. All the way this week, the officers have been kind to us, they've been considerate, and they have paid attention to our demands, even though they may not be able to do as they wish. They have their orders, they are following them, and we have to appreciate the fact that through the time that they work, they are keeping us safe to the best of their abilities. So thank you.
Thank you! Thank you!
I've been doing some statistics research with UMBC. Of the over 200 people in the tri-state area killed by police in the past 10 years, there have been less than 7 investigations. Not indictments, that's investigations.
Hello, my name is Anthony Seattle III from San Diego, California. Anthony Seattle III from San Diego, California. People have spoken about our economic and political model. There's been a lot of misinformation taught to the general public throughout the years. The reality is, according to the Constitution, we can have any kind of economic model we want. The only thing that the Constitution specifies is that every state is a republic form of government. We can have communism, socialism, capitalism, or any other form of economic model. You can mix and match these different systems. The easy examples are China, the People's Republic of China, the old USSR, United Soviet Socialist Republic. Both of those countries had a republic form of governance along with a different economic model. Another thing that they don't teach the general populace is Adam Smith. He's considered the father of modern economics. Required reading for anybody who gets a major in economics. And he wrote a book back in 1776 called An Inquiry into the Rise of Wealth of Nations. In this book, he specifically states that this form of economic model, meaning capitalism or any market-based economy, has always created a very rich elite class that does no labor at all. It consumes 10 to 100 times the total amount of resources the entire working class creates. If we go back to 1860, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to a guy, I believe, named Thomas Yancey. Paraphrase, he stated how the American public does not understand how the money system or the banking system works, and they clamor for more and more of this fake money. And banks have always created bubbles that consistently burst all throughout history, and that they're like a sick patient that refuses to take their medicine. James Diamond, testifying before Congress on a documentary called Surviving Progress, in which Martin Scorsese was the executive producer, testified before Congress. Why is anybody surprised about this last, bubble burst? Because it consistently does this every 7 to 10 years. Michael Hudson, an economic historian that worked for the IMF, takes it back to 2000 BC. We always had bubbles.
All right, we're a smaller group here, which means we got to make some more noise. So who knows a good chant?
corporations aren't people. Democracy spring, the movement's coming to you. Democracy spring, sit in, sit in. Democracy spring, sit in, sit in. And take note. Non-violent action. Is the people's hope. Gotta give the people hope. Democracy springs, sit in, sit in.
Stand up too.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
There are some places I've been that you have not been to. There are some places I've been that you have been to too. There are some places you've been that I have not been to. There are some places that we have not been to yet. There is one question with 1,000 answers, or perhaps only one answer for 1,000 things to ask. But hey, don't you know there's no need to feel dejected, because all of our grievances are connected. Everywhere I go, I see a different situation. But everywhere I go, I see the same thing. Everywhere we are, we're in a different situation. But everywhere we go, we know the same thing. There is one question with 1,000 answers, or perhaps only one answer for 1,000 things to ask. But hey, don't you know there's no need to feel dejected, because all of our grievances are connected. Ooh, whoa.
live thing all day. It's great. Now, real news, who's your, what's her name? Abby Martin? I met her at the 420 thing. Or no, I met her at the Prime Minister. Okay, yeah.
Democracy! Now! Democracy! Now! Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
close now. Oh yeah, things like
All right, so this is the 5th day of Democracy Spring. The Real News has been covering this since Monday. The first day, there were more than 400 arrests here at the Capitol. On Tuesday, we had about 50 people arrested. On Wednesday, it was Racial Justice Day. There were about 100 people arrested. And yesterday, we saw dozens of people arrested under the theme labor. Today, it's all about students and youth. And of course, student debt has been a main issue for many of these protesters here. And they say they cannot reform the system without getting money out of politics, which is really at the center of Democracy Spring. They have 4 bills that they would like Congress to pass. These bills, one is a constitutional amendment called Democracy for All. This amendment would essentially limit campaign contributions for donors, and it would have to be, of course, ratified by all the states. There are more than a dozen states already that have campaign finance reform laws established in their own constitutions. California is going to have a vote this November to discuss the issue. But here at Democracy Spring, they say that they want Congress to take that step and pass a constitutional amendment. They are also calling for Congress to take an up or down vote on President Obama's nominee. They are not saying whether or not they endorse said nominee, Merrick Garland, but they do say that whoever replaces Antonin Scalia's seat, Justice Antonin Scalia, they will have to be against Citizens United and would want to overturn that decision, which essentially allowed unlimited campaign contributions and equated, as these protesters are saying, they equated money with speech, which allowed a lot more outside donors to make their voices heard in campaigns without direct representation by those entities. Super PACs were created. You've heard the word super PAC. Those are political action committees that allow dark money to exist in campaigns. So we are here, as I said, here at the Capitol. We will be covering Democracy Spring until it ends. The end date is Monday. Monday, there is supposed to be a day of actions tentatively scheduled. They will be going into lawmakers' offices and demanding to meet with lawmakers. And if they are denied a meeting, they will be holding sit-ins. Tomorrow, there will be actions as well, and that will be related to climate justice. So there are many folks here saying that you cannot even approach the issue of climate change because the fossil fuel industry has been lobbying Congress and making it very difficult to pass any regulations to regulate carbon emissions and things of that nature. All right, so we are here on Capitol Hill. As you can see, there are protesters still here. We are wrapped up probably most of the arrests that will be happening today. There's still a group of protesters. I believe Rosario Dawson, actress Rosario Dawson, is one of those protesters who is risking arrest today. We spoke to Chris Hedges earlier, former New York Times Middle East Bureau chief, as well as Harvard professor Lawrence Lessig. They both were arrested today. We had great interviews with them. We'll have them up on our website as well, so you can hear directly from them as to why they decided to come here and why it was so important for them to participate in Democracy Spring. I'm here. I'm Jessica Devereaux. We've been covering this live. We'll certainly be coming back to you on Monday, and we'll be continuing to track this. Some people are saying will become a movement. So thank you so much for being with us, watching us throughout the week. As I said, Jessica Devereaux signing off from here on Capitol Hill.
Alrighty, everybody. Let me get you back on the loop until I'm ready to come up. I'm doing some editing on the other website, so because it looks like we're going to, without a doubt, be able to open next week. So I've got a lot of work to do to get everything done that I need to get done, and wow, I've been burning the candle at more than both ends. So anyway, let me get back to working on that. I will get you guys on the loop, and if anything more comes up with Democracy Spring, I will definitely bring it back on. So back to Nothing Fancy, and speaking about the Hall of Fame Go to War pistols. So I will be back soon.
Is extremely durable. Now it's milled out of a solid piece of stainless steel. This older SIG demonstrates how it used to be made, and this is the stamped steel slide that was mandrel hammered out and then pinned. But you know what? This was very effective. There were some complaints, I think, from the SEALs as they used this stamped steel slide in salt water. It was totally not impervious to salt water, and they had to detail strip it every time they took it for a swim, and I'll show you that in here in a sec, and they would have to just rinse the heck out of it, otherwise they were getting all kinds of rust. So, honestly speaking, the stamped steel slide is inferior to the now milled stainless steel slide. And let's look at those differences real quick. On the top strap, you can kind of see the older slide with its scallop area. See how that's milled? That's one way you can identify it. Not that you're going to see a lot of these older SIGs running around. You're just not. You'll be lucky if you ever see them, in fact. The ones that are still out there are usually being held as collectibles now, since they're stamped with West German markings. And then on the side, basically the slides look very identical. This one's actually a little bit heavier. When you go with a milled block of stainless steel, it adds one more.
Our people 500 years ago, before contact, we never had alcohol. We never had the drugs that they have today. You know, we didn't have reservations. We didn't have, you know, the things that we have today. No, they put us to sleep. And when they put us to sleep is when they took over the rest of the land. So, you know, but like I said, I just want to carry a little bit on with this waking up experience, you know. Yeah, I was a full-blown alcoholic, man. I was on the street. I drank, you know, stuff that I shouldn't drink, you know. I've done all that. I've been in jails. You know. I've been fun time. I know what time is all about. I can do time standing in the corner. That's nothing, you know. I used to be scared of the police, you know. No. And
now you don't care.
Thank you, Kathy. But no, waking up. Like I said, Kathy woke up, I don't know, a long time ago. I see it. Davine woke up. Others that are waking up, you know. That's why we're here today, waking up, you know.
When you wake up, it's hard to unsee.
Yeah, so anyways, we were, like I said, when I woke up, like I said, my mother's case, like I said, I found out at a very young age who had killed my mother, but I couldn't do nothing. I had to, you know, they gave me 4 days, right? And after 4 days, when I heard about who had killed my mother, you know, the second day I found that I got home, right? And I was supposed to go home and go back to Kuwait at that time. Enter another either group home, foster home, wherever they're going to put me in. But instead of going home, instead of going back to Kuwait, they couldn't catch me because I had just learned who had killed my mother, and he was still living in town. And I started going after him. I was just a kid myself, but I started going after him. I didn't go to my uncles, I didn't go to my relatives, I didn't go to the police to tell them this guy had killed my mother. I was so angry, I was so pissed off, and that this guy was still partying, he was still drinking, he was still doing whatever. And so I started going after him. I used to go to the house that he partied at. So, you know, kept on going after him. He'd see me in the house, give me a couple slaps, pick me up, throw me out. You know, I'm just a kid, right? And I'd wait outside. I remember waiting outside, looking at the house, and figuring how am I going to get this guy? How can I get back inside the house? You know? So I'd sit there and wait. I knew they were partying. I knew some of them are going to pass out. Somebody's going to come out the door so I can get back in. Then when they opened the door, I'd sneak down into the basement. Sit in the basement for a while. And wait till the party, they all passed out, or because I knew what parties were. I knew somebody somewhere's going to pass out somewhere, you know, somebody's going to go to sleep, somebody's going to stagger off, whatever. And then I can get this guy. I remember one time I got into the basement, waiting. I remember I woke up in the basement. The whole house was quiet. Sneaking upstairs, you know, I'd fallen asleep, everybody left. The guy was gone. So couldn't get him that day. But anyways, coming back, you know, kept on going after him. It was up to the point of where he started getting pissed off, you know, me coming after him. He finally caught up to me down the back road, and he tried to strangle me. He got me on the ground, he's strangling me and all that. He's gonna kill me now, you know. And I'm just a kid, right? But that's a story in itself, you know, when he was trying to kill me. Lucky one of my relatives come along and, you know, boom, opened the door and said, "What are you doing?" You know, and you know, I'm on the ground, I'm all passed out, and this guy's on top of me, he's strangling me. My cousin runs over right away and just starts beating up on him, and my other friend comes along and they beat up on the guy. But one of the comments that he made before they could get him off me was, "I'm gonna kill this guy like I killed his mother."
Wow.
And my cousin, he remembers that to this day. He says, "I'm going to remember that every day. I'm going to remember that for a long, long time." He says, what that guy said. He said, "I'm going to kill this guy like I killed his mother." And then they beat him up. They threw him out, you know. And then soon after, I froze. I froze that very same night. I almost died about 3-4 times that night.
Wow.
So, but anyways, like I said, I kept on going after this guy, and but anyways, eventually, like after 4 days, they kept on running after me, trying to catch me and all that, and they finally caught up to me. They shipped me off to another home, you know. So this time I ended up in Thunder Bay Group Home. But now I had the name as to who killed my mother. But you know, at that age, you know, like going through the system, there's that, you know, you don't learn, you don't rap, you don't tell people, you don't tell. So I'm hardcore by then, right? You know, so I carry this information with me that, you know, I know this guy who killed my mother, and now I'm entering another, you know, group home. And so, like I said, that's from that point on, just entering one institution after another. So always carrying that name as to who killed my mother, right? So, and I carried that name for about a good 40 years trying to get to this guy. And you know, I told coroners, I told lawyers, I told, you know, I don't know, I tried to tell as many people as possible, you know, as to who killed my mother, you know. After I got into activism, you know, I could have went after the guy myself. I could have went and got him, you know, but people convinced me to do the right thing and do it the right way, you know. I should have just went and got him, but you know, I'd be out of jail by now. I'd be out of jail by now if I had just gone and taken care of it. But it didn't plan out that way, you know. Like, so, anyways, like I said, when the compensation package opened up, it gave me that legal opening to which I'd always been, you know, trying to, always trying to figure out how I could go after this one guy, eh? So, but yeah, finally when that compensation package opened up and we got all that money and all that, and, I seen that fine line in the compensation package where it says, you know, any crime that happened during that period in time will be treated like it happened yesterday or today. So I took those lines to law firms, ended up with the Aboriginal Legal Services. I told them about the story of my life and all that, and what had happened with my mother, and how the guy was still alive, and that there was still time to charge him or deal with the matter. So Aboriginal Legal Services took up the case. And then that's how I got into activism, looking into my mother's case, you know.
How long ago was this?
It's about 10 years, over 10 years now, I got into the activism. So, you know, then when like I said, all these years I was carrying that name, you know, like trying to figure out how I can get this guy, like, you know, but you have to go through alcoholism, you have to go through the drug addictions, you have to go through the homelessness, you have to go through jails, all the time that you do in the jails and all that, you know, always with this name, carrying this name, right? Like, you know, and every few years I check up on this guy, or every little while I bump into somebody who was from the same community or he was part of the family, you know, than where this guy came from. And I'd check up, I'd say, hey, play this con game or whatever, try to play street, whatever you want, and and silently, hey man, where you from? And they'd say where they were from, and then all of a sudden, when they mentioned the reserve that they were from, and that the guy was still there, the guy's still alive, So I'd ask, I'd say, oh yeah, where are you from? And they'd go, I'm from, such and such a place. And I'd go, oh yeah, I know quite a few people from there, like some of my relatives live in that community, and I'd ask them about the people around them, and then I'd slowly, oh yeah, I remember, this person, this one particular family, are they still living in this one community? And, oh yeah, they're still there, yeah, what about that lady, she's still there, the brother of, this, so slowly working my way to the name, and then I'd ask the final question. I'd say, what about this guy Solomon? Then I mentioned the last name, and then the guy, without knowing why I was asking all these questions, then he'd be all happy. I remember people being like, oh yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, he's still in good health. Stuff like that. And I let out my breath. Man, I still got time to get him. And then one of the things that I told this guy, that who had killed my mother, I remember pointing my finger at him as a kid. He's ready to throw me out. He's ready to beat me up. I remember pointing at him and just being so angry and just shaking my finger at him. And I'm going to come and get you, man. I'm going to come and get you one of these days. And then I remember him picking me up and a couple slaps and getting thrown out the door. But I remember that promise I made to him. So when that compensation package opened up, that fine line, Aboriginal Legal Service and all that, that's when I started going after him. And that was like 10 years ago. And then by, people convincing me to attend demonstrations and rallies and going to the media and going to the public and all that, That's what that whole internet thing is all about. Whatever you see on the internet, that's me going after my mother's killer, trying to attend all the demonstrations at police headquarters on Valentine's Day, I'd go to there and, I'd try to tell the public, my story, and they'd put me up on the mic and I'd be talking about what happened with my mother, hoping that sisters or whoever, missing murdered Native women would go after the guy. None of them ever did. I've told my story over and over. Nobody ever fucking picked up the phone to see if this guy was still alive or see if he had ever been charged, or there was never any big letter campaign from the missing murdered Native women or other agencies that were, supposedly, why was I attending at police headquarters on February 14th every fucking year? They never did a fucking thing for me, man. They're always fucking, talking about some other case, They never did a fucking thing for me. So, still pissed off over that. Our own people, you tried to tell them, But they said when I got into the activism, looking into my mother's case, I started dealing with the head coroner of Ontario, Dr. Eden. I started dealing with Major Crimes Unit, Detective Mark Hutchinson, based out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, and Major Crimes Unit, and also with the lawyers, The only problem with that is all these agencies and demonstrations and rallies and telling people. Not one fucking person ever did a fucking thing. Dr. Eden, the lawyers, detectives, the rallies, the demonstrations, Nobody ever did a big letter campaign. Nobody ever did a rally outside of Aboriginal Legal Services. Nobody ever did a fucking rally at the coroner's office or nothing, All I did was build a fucking name for myself, I don't want the fucking limelight. I don't want the fucking camera. I want to live my life in peace, man, just like everybody else. Fuck, man. I have to go to do all this shit, Fuck. And, like I said, I went after this guy but I got sidetracked. I got sidetracked into doing blockades, trade blockades, road blockades, helping other causes and other people. Sidetracking me from going after my own mother's killing. You know, every once in a while, after I come back from train blockade, road blockade, pipeline blockade, or whatever other activity, throwing, what do you call that? Out of their convention, yearly annual convention, that big oil company, what's it called?
Oh, Esso.
The one they have at the Metro Convention Center, just downtown here. Yearly conference.
Oh, the oil producers, petroleum producers of Canada, PAC.
No, what do you call this guys? The giant in the pipelines.
Enbridge.
Enbridge, yeah, throwing them out of their yearly conference downtown here. You know, did that too, right? I was part of that. But like I said, to me, like nobody ever really did anything. There's no big letter campaign. All they want to do was hear my story and fucking use me as, do what I do, right? So anyways, after that, after that, trying to raise the awareness as to, who killed my mother and hoping, we can get some, like, it's just not myself. I got brothers, I got uncles, I got relatives that were related to my mother. It's just not myself that I was speaking for. Nobody did a fucking thing. The guy was still alive. Nobody ever did a fucking thing. And one of the things I did manage to do before he died just recently is I went to go see him. I went to go confront him. After 40 years, after he thrown me out of the last building there and he tried to strangle me down the back road, I finally went to go see him. I went to go see him in the hospital. Somebody called me up from back home and told me, hey, the guy you're after is at the hospital in Sulcott. So I picked up whatever I had. I hitchhiked down to Sulcott. I went to go confront this guy who had killed my mother. Looking for that closure. Wanting to make that victim impact statement. I couldn't get it from the coroner. I couldn't get it from detectives, major crimes unit. I couldn't get it from Aboriginal Legal Service. I couldn't get it in the courtroom system. So I had to go look for this guy on my own, trying to look for that closure and make that victim impact statement, So I went to go see him. I went right to the hospital where he was at. I checked down, And I confronted him. I walked into the room. And I played that out on, I let CBC have that story. I made a video out of that visit. Because of all the activism that I was doing. Learning the power of the camera. I took the camera along.
So when you confronted him, you had a video camera with you?
Yeah. So.
And what happened?
Well, like I said, here finally I'm going to confront this guy who had killed my mother. Finally catching up to this guy. I'm at the hospital. I'm standing there. I'm looking at the building. And this guy's inside. I've been after him for 40 years. I'm standing outside and I'm looking around. And then I'm walking into the building. I'm walking down the hallway. I'm thinking about all the foster homes, the group homes, the training schools, the detention centers. I'm thinking about my brothers. I'm thinking about my sisters, my aunts, how this guy had impacted, what he did to my family, and, the devastation that he had caused, Because their family just went into total chaos when my mother died. We all ended up in foster homes, group homes. I come from a large family. We all ended up in one institution after another. We didn't have no mother no more. The mother is the base of your life. It's like Mother Earth. So, anyways, walking down the hallway, finally being able to confront this guy. You know, I used to have dreams. I used to play it out in my mind. If I ever seen this guy in front of me, what I was gonna do. You know, was I gonna kill this guy? You know, like walking down the hallway. You know, what am I gonna say to this guy? You know, what am I gonna do? Getting scared because not only for him, but for myself. What am I gonna do when I finally see this guy in front of me? So yeah, I got into the same room, finally, you know, after 40 years, being able to confront this guy. He's laying in the bed. I finally walk into the room. I sit down, and I'm staring at him. And I see this old man in front of me. And I know what he's done to my mother. I know what he's done to my family. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at him, and I'm going, it's just an old man. You know, I had dreams of killing this guy. You know, what am I going to do to this guy when I finally confront him? People begging me not to kill this guy. You know, like I said, I attended demonstrations before and all that, rallies and all that. People coming up to me, telling me, please, Gary, don't kill this guy. You're going to become just as bad as him if you kill him. You know, I'm thinking this when I'm walking into the hospital room and sitting, I'm looking at him, eh? But all I see is this old guy in front of me. There's no battle. There's no big shootout. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a knife. He doesn't have the ability to pick me up and throw me out anymore. Now it's turned around now. He's the old guy. He's the child. I'm the adult. Now, it's my choice whether I want to pick him up and throw him out this time. So I stand there, I sit there, and I'm looking at him. And I'm thinking of people that have told me over the years, the rallies, the demonstrations. Then I think about this one particular lady who got up in front of me, you know, and she's going, Gary, can I speak to you? The white lady, and she's going. And then she starts getting into it. You know, if you kill this guy, you're gonna be just as bad. And then she started, you know, telling me, please, Gary, please. And then she starts crying. And then she starts crying, and she's going, please, Gary, don't kill him. You know? And I remember that sitting in the hospital and I'm looking at this old man who's in front of me. But if I start talking to him, I start telling him, I said, Solomon, do you know who I am? And then I tell him, like, this guy, he knew. He can look in, he was able to talk, he was able to remember, you know, he wasn't in the hospital because he was, you know, on his deathbed or anything. They just wanted to keep an eye on him because he was old. He had full mental, you know, still time enough to charge him, you know, do this, do that, you know. But here I finally got him in front of me. But all I keep on thinking about, the foster homes, the group homes, the training schools, the jails, the detention centers, all the fucking time I spent in one institution after another because of what this guy had done. Now I've got him in front of me. Am I gonna do, you know, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna kill him now? Am I gonna, you know? So like I said, I remember what the elders were telling me, you know, like I said, you know, looking for closure, looking for that victim impact statement, you know. The coroners couldn't give it to me, you know. Like I said, detectives, they couldn't give me the closure that I was looking for, you know. All these other agencies that I went to, demonstrations, going to the public, you know, going to missing murdered Native women, going to other Native agencies, you know. Like I said, they didn't do a fucking thing, you know. So, like I said, finally got in front of this guy who killed my mother, and then I start talking to him. I said, Solomon, do you remember me? Do you know who I am? And he's looking at me, and I lean over to him really close, and I said, do you know who I am? And then he's asking me, who are you? And then I finally tell him my name. I make sure that he hears clearly who I am. My name is Gary Wasay Kizek. I say out loud to him so that he can hear it. And then he starts, I can see by his eyes, he's starting to dawn on him, you know, and that I'm talking to him. I can see it in his eyes that it's starting to dawn on him what this thing is about. I mentioned my mother's name. And then, you know what I found out looking into my mother's case? This guy killed not only my mother, but this lady that used to live next door. Her name was Barbara.
There was a chief downstairs and they wouldn't let him up. Stacy LaForme, 25 minutes ago.
So
they wouldn't let him up here.
So anyways, you know, I'm finally confront this guy. I want to get him, right? And I'm looking at him. Can't do nothing, right?
They wouldn't let 25 minutes ago.
So you know what I do? In the old days, our people used to count coop. You know? So what I did is I turned around and I tapped him on the chest. And I told him, there, I got you.
No, Stacy.
No? That tap to the chest, I could have had a knife in my hand. I could have had a gun in my hand. Counting coup, tapping him on the, you know. So, and then the look in his eyes started dawning on him what it was all about. He tried to get up, and he's looking at me with this look in his eyes, and he's starting to dawn on him what it's about, right? And he's trying to get up. He's trying to get up into the hallway. But like I said, it switched around now. He's the child now. I'm the adult. And I'm standing there. I'm over him. It's my choice whether I want to take him out or not. But all I did was I tapped him on the chest. There, I got you. For me, the satisfaction was looking into his eyes and him realizing what this was all about. I mentioned my mother's names, I mentioned my brother's names, I mentioned my uncle's names, I mentioned my grandmother's names, I mentioned his sisters, aunts to this guy. I mentioned residential schools, I mentioned foster homes, group homes, all the shit that this guy put me through. Then I mentioned Barbara, the lady that lived next door. I mentioned her sons. You know, I said, Tom, you know, I mentioned, you know, Rose. I mentioned Scotty. You know, that was Barbara's sons and daughters. And the look in his eyes, he's looking at me, and now it's starting to dawn on him what this is about. I made sure that he fucking knew. I finally had him. Then I started looking into his eyes and I could see the fear. When I seen the fear in his eyes, I was standing over him, had him. When I started looking at him, he's trying to get up off the bed. I started realizing that he was starting to get scared. I started pulling back. I sat down. And I watched him relax, go back onto the bed. But he had that fear, that look of fear in his eyes now. And I'm looking at him. So, you know, I stayed in that room for a good hour. Another good hour with him. I could have took him out. I've been through, I know what killing is all about. I know what death is all about. You know? Anyways, after an hour, you know, I decided to go. That was it. I walked out.
Was that like the closest thing for closure for you?
Oh man, you think cocaine is good? You think, the other drugs are good? You think booze is good? You should have seen the feeling, man, coming out of that hospital room. You know, it didn't dawn on me what was happening until now, like, you know. But when I came out of that hospital room, you know, when I came out of that hospital room, I just confronted the guy who had killed my mother. I could have took him out. I'm walking out now. And then you should have seen the highs start coming up. I didn't know it, man. I was just going down the hallway, just started kicking in, and I'm going, wow, man. I could have took him out. I had him. I could have took him out. And I'm going, like, in my head, I'm going, I could have had him. I could have took him out. You know. And I felt like I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to tell them, you know, tell people. I wanted to say, hey, man, I could have took that guy out. I could have had him. The guy that killed my mother, I could have had him. And then I'm going down this high. I've been on coke. I've been on drugs, trying to escape from this misery. You know. But that high coming out of that room, man, felt so good, man. Finally being able to tell this guy what he had done. The foster homes, the group homes, the training schools, the detention centers, the alcoholism, the parks, the alleys, the misery of it all, man. I was able to finally fucking tell this guy what he had put us through. Not only me, but my brothers, my sisters, my relatives, my uncles who were related to my mother. And not only for the family next door, you know, I was able to finally fucking tell him. The closure that I was looking for, the victim impact statement that I had wanted to make in a fucking courtroom. You know, I was able to finally fucking tell him. And then the high that went with it coming out. Man, by the time I got out of the hospital door, it's like there's just this whole feeling, man. Wow, I could have had him, man. And I wanted to go up to taxi drivers that were parked in front of the hospital and just tell them, man, I could have had him.
You were floating on a cloud.
Yeah, just floating, man. I could have had him all the way out the door, and boom, walking down the trail. I could have. Damn, it was so powerful. It was so
The
like
Creator was with you.
Yeah, it was so hard. It was so like power, man. Like, and you know, like it was so the feeling, man, was so high. Like I could have had him. I didn't do it. You know. And now I feel good. I didn't feel very good 10 years ago. And even before that, I felt like shit. And even up to all this period in time, the 10 years of activism, I felt like shit. I felt like, you know, nothing's going to happen. But when I finally confronted this old man in front of me who had killed my mother, finally got rid of it. Now, today, I feel complete. Not complete, but I feel good now.
How long ago was this day of closure?
It's just recently passed away, a couple months ago. You can view that on the internet. I put it all over the internet.
A couple months ago?
Yeah, it went trending. Yeah, I let it go with CBC. And CBC was all over it. It started trending. So you can, like I said, that's why I give you the internet, the view, like, yeah, you can, like I said, the story that I tell today is a little bit broken up right now because of the time and space and the problem that we're having here. But you can get the complete story on the internet, what I talk about. And like I said, I'm just telling you a quick story. There's a lot of shit that happened in between there I could tell you about, but it would take hours on here.
You've been hours on the Occupy Toronto live stream channel talking about your story, and we can never hear it enough. Because this is just one story.
Of many.
And that your story is very representative of so many other First Nations people. And we need to tell it, and we need to tell it, and we need to tell it over and over again.
That is exactly right, and I hope there's more and more stories coming out. Like I said, it's time for our people to wake up. Put the drugs down, man. Put the alcohol down. Put whatever's holding you down. Put it down. Wake up. Time to wake up. Take those fucking band offices down. Go to INAC. Take it down, man.
Well, here's something, Ethan Young, Chief and Council in Cold Lake have locked out the elders of a meeting regarding the draft election. So Chief and Council have locked out the elders.
No, I don't.
Things are spreading.
The scene with the bathroom.
Huh?
People are waking up. This is spreading.
Yeah. They said, I hope more and more people wake up. Well, can we take a break? I want to take a break.
Yes.
I want to get something to drink. I want to relax for a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
And Mr. Orba says, respect, brother. Thank you for sharing that story.
We love you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, thank you, Gary.
Yeah. Thank Ottawa Pascat First Nation, Paganjigam, Fort Hope, Sandy Lake, Mishkigogama. Thank them. Miigwech.
So I'm trying to get
So, folks, I'm just going to save this. Going to get some drinks. Tweet this out. Facebook this out. If you want to know when we're live and click follow on this live stream channel, you'll get a notification every time I go live. Follow me on Twitter. Whenever I go live, I send out a message, and if you click notifications button, you'll also get notified from there. So I'm going to save this, and I'll be back shortly. We're live here from day 3 of
How many hours, Captain?
what time is it?
2 something.
We're at 51 hours, day 3.
1, 2, 3.
I'm trying to talk to her.
Okay, so I'm gonna save this as day 3 of the Occupy INAC, Indian and Northern Affairs office here in Toronto. We took this at 10:29 a.m. Wednesday. Okay, peace out, and see you on the live chat, folks. Okay, ciao.
Rights, we have to do it, people. Listen, I'm a thrift store diva. If you like name brand stuff, you can find it at the thrift stores. Don't go and put $400 or $500 in some cat's pocket that's lining these cats' pockets while they're giving you a big fuck you. We're tired of it. So instead of putting all of your energy, I'm not saying don't put something, because we have to be responsible. We have to hold them accountable. But instead of putting all of your energy into trying to convince them what they can do, I need us to be more organized, more intentional about where we put our dollars, how we make our dollars, so that we can deflate the big fat pigs that they are. That's it.
Hi, my name's Tom Hibbard, and I'm a working person from Florida, and I'm kind of proud of it. I've been arrested 4 times this week. Partly, I wanted to make a point, and the point is what I've learned the most this week, and I hope everybody takes this lesson home with them, and that is we won't ever give up. We will keep this movement going, and we will draw other people in, hopefully more conservative people also, and we'll draw other people in, and we'll keep it going until we have the government back.
So did we mention that a bunch of these big money guys are big energy guys and the whole climate change thing, right? Space is large and space is dark. What are you gonna do? Anybody here from New York? You know how to say this? We do it in Chicago too. What are you gonna do? It's hard to find a place to park. What are you gonna do? Other planets too cold or hot. Better take care of the one we've got. That's what we are going to do. You can see your lines in there, right? Global warming is a fact. What are you gonna do? Politicians slow to act, what are you gonna do? Citizens take the initiative, reduce pollution where you live. That's what we are going to do. Our autos we will leave at home, what are you gonna do? We'll find cleaner ways to roam, what are you gonna do? Walk or pedal, bike or run, we'll be in great condition. That's what we are going to do. In a winter with its cold and ice, what are you gonna do? Walking will not be so nice, what are you gonna do? We'll get to know our neighbors more, we'll carpool to the grocery store. That's what we are going to do. Our produce comes from far away, what are you gonna do? Prices higher every day, what are you gonna do? In city councils, let's be vocal for year-round markets that are local. That's what we are going to do. Big oil buys, the Congress votes, what are you gonna do? Conservation is taking notes, what are you gonna do? Call, petition, and donate, defeat their oily candidates. That's what we are going to do. There is no ending to the song, what are you gonna do? New ideas will come along, what are you gonna do? We will encourage one another to take good care of Earth, our mother. That's what we are going to do. Cause space is large and space is dark, what are you gonna do? It's hard to find a place to park, what are you gonna do? Other planets too cold or hot, better take care of the planet we've got. That's what we are going to do.
Got another one?
She said, oh, we might not like it, but we'd better get used to it. Better get used to it. Better get used to it. We might not like it, but we'd better get used to it. We're living in just one world. We say first world, second world. Those guys are the third. Those guys are the third. Oh, those guys are the third. But there is just one planet now. Haven't you heard? We are living in just one world. If we keep dumping carbon, climate will get hotter. Climate will get hotter. Climate will get hotter. Gonna see some shortages of food and water. We are living in just one world. If the nations start to starve, could be war and revolution. War and revolution. War and revolution. Military might will not be a solution, cause we're living in just one world. If the north half of Earth starts swapping bombs, swapping bombs, oh, swapping bombs, that nuclear dust will come home to Mom. We are living in just one world. I won't apologize or ask anybody's pardon, anybody's pardon, anybody's pardon. I don't want plutonium polluting my garden. We are living in just one world. So we might not like it, but we better get used to it. Better get used to it. Better get used to it. We might not like it, but we better get used to it. We're living in just one world. And you would say, why did I make up a song like that? Because that takes my entire rant into 1 minute and 35 seconds.
You want to hold it?
I'll go after him.
You can go before or after. Okay. 1 second, let me look at the quick. I just rented it. I actually just wrote this, so I may be a little rusty on it, but let me look at it real quick. Okay. Let's see how I'm going to do it. What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, when we stand behind the police line. Dear Capital, I'm here, dear Capital, I'm now, I'll stay with you forever, till I'm planted in the ground, by force or love, come and bring me up, and take me to the car. I'll see you on Monday, here I am, oh here I am, won't quit when I'm come this far. What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, when we stand behind the police line. Dear Capital, I'm here, dear Capital, I'm now, I'll stay with you forever, till I'm planted in the ground. That force or love, try to bring me up and take me to the car. I'll see you on Monday, here I am, oh here I am, I can't quit when I've come this far.